や、やつや
箱崎さん、何が。
He was a popular loner, a lone wolf, an alpha, or so he thought. One day after acting too cool to talk to anyone, he plays his game, but for some reason when he blinks, he is in a new world. Standing beside him is the most popular girl in school, inviting him to embark on a new journey together. Episode 1. Seen walking to school in his unwashed, filthy school clothes is Yusuke, our protagonist. With him going through a delinquent phase, he plans what to do after school. On his walk, he sees some guys stalking some girl, talking about what they would do to her if they were cool. Yusuke, on the other hand, has no interest in such things, so he continues walking home until he bangs into some wannabe streamer. Eventually, he gets home and he plays video games all night until he is too sweaty to continue. After this, he looks at his childhood pictures and wishes that he still had friends like he used to. The following day, Yusuke gets forced to clean the class where he notices Shindu, the hot blonde girl, yet again. Despite seeing her, he doesn't talk to her, and rather dresses her up in an online AI game. After doing this, he feels guilty the following day at school, wondering what she would do if she found out what he's doing. As he stares at them, they notice his glance, so they make eye contact, but he breaks it immediately. Once class is over that day, he sees the two girls he was peeking at still sitting around together. Before he leaves, his teacher asks what he wants to be out of school, but he can't think of anything. He wishes the dumb teacher would let him go and play video games already. Now with the teacher gone, he tries to flirt with the girls, but they seem to have vanished from thin air. He looks around and eventually sees the chalkboard he just washed off get filled with images. He then gets hit with a psychedelic attack that swirls him around and dumps him into a bath to wash off. Or so he thinks, but when he looks around, he is surrounded by monsters. He swims away in a panic. To his surprise, Shindu is there watching him drown. Upon arriving at the shore, the other girl introduces herself as Hakozaki, a classmate of his. Instead of treating them nicely, he instantly starts panicking, wondering what's going on, and suddenly a mysterious figure named the Game Master makes an appearance, telling Yusuke he will now explain the rules. He wonders what's going on, but the Game Master continues, telling him his quest is to fulfill a nearby village chief's request. With a time limit of only 14 days, he has to rush through the various hordes of monsters that hold him. Starts complaining, but is stopped once Shindu kicks him, telling him to shut up. Game Master then continues, explaining that his companions have already completed a couple quests, and have thus earned roles. Shindu is a wind wizard with a high aptitude for magic. Hakozaki, on the other hand, is a warrior who is pretty shabby for having this trait. He then rolls for Yusuke's role, telling him he has a chance for many good abilities. After he rolls it, he gets the farmer class, making his classmates realize he's useless. Before we continue, let's take a moment to answer the question of the day. If you were summoned to another world, what class would you want? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out in the next video. Now back to the recap. Following this, the Game Master leaves, so Yusuke asks more about the game and how they came to find it. Originally, Shindu was the only one until she got too tired of solo playing, so she invited Hakozaki. She informs Yusuke that one of her quests was to befriend her, and upon doing so, summons her into this world as well. By the time they made it back to their world, they had a new quest to recruit Yusuke into this game. She explains that she noticed Yusuke always peeping on her, so she was reluctant to recruit him. This makes Yusuke think of what he can offer to hopefully make up for that. He looks through his items and finds only a hoe and sickle as his main weapons, neither of them being useful in combat. The girls tried to leave him, but he persisted following them. Eventually, after walking through the forest for a while, they encounter a cutscene where we see Hakozaki crying after first entering the world. She gets embarrassed and hides it from Yusuke, but he doesn't care, him having his own emotional moments. He then moves on to asking more about the quest, wondering if they can only return after they complete it. Before he gets an answer, some goblins emerge, so Yusuke rushes them without a second thought. Instead of defeating it like he thought, his sickle breaks, causing him to have no weapon. He asks for the girls to help him, but like himself, they are complete trash at the game, being unable to defeat even the weakest. He then sees Hakozaki drop her sword, so he tries to use it, learns he can only equip weapons that suit his class. Because of this, a goblin gets a cheeky hit off on him, making him fall unconscious. After he does, he gets a bird-eye view in a spiritual form, making him wonder what's going on. He then comes back to life, allowing Shindu to inform him he always respawns after 30 seconds. As he knows this, he rushes into battle more confidently, swinging his piece of wood at the goblin. He sacrifices his life to get a hit in, and ends up defeating the goblin. Following Following this, they inform him that their first quest was to defeat a single goblin, but they struggled a lot more. She informs Yusuke that as long as one of them stays alive, then they can continue dying, but if all three die, they die for good. With this knowledge, Yusuke proceeds more carefully, inspecting his weapons to see if he can make use of them. He then asks them what they know about the Game Master, to which he informed them he was from the future. This makes him even more mysterious, making Yusuke want to see if he can contact the Game Master. He decides to farm some goblins to get away from the girls, but eventually hears Shindu crying out for him. He runs to the scene and finds Hakozaki torn in two, dying before his eyes. Once he looks up, he finds a massive, ugly orc that chomps Shindu's body in half. After he sees all of this, he grabs Hakozaki's hand and runs to hopefully keep her alive so he can go to help Shindu. Eventually, he arrives at a cave with only Hakozaki, who informs him that her arm isn't regenerating. This makes Yusuke realize that if he gets eaten, then he will die for real, and with him having no real strength, he has to rely on others. He heads to the nearest town where they are called heroes by the villagers. They call him cool and awesome, unknowing that the heroes before them are some useless high schoolers. He eventually arrives at the village chief's house where he requests Yusuke to take down the monster that ate Shindu. He realizes that Hakozaki is useless in this situation, so he tries to leave her, but she stops him. She asks him not to leave her alone, but he continues, telling her he needs to get stronger to protect not only himself, but also others. Or so he says, but in reality, Yusuke just wants to enjoy this new lifestyle in the game. Episode 2. To start, he looks around for goblins because he knows at his current rank he stands no chance against the big orc. After a little bit of searching, he finds a cutscene where it reveals that Hakozaki was scared of all men. She didn't want any men to ever come in, while Shindu wished for Yusuke to enter the game next. Before he could hear this ending, he sneezed, making him think he has a 50-50 shot at having her in love with him. He swings his sword around aimlessly until he gets too depressed to continue. As he thinks about his old life, some goblins emerge, so he takes his sadness out on them. He used to have tons of friends that he would always hang out with until one fateful day. When he was a youngin', he moved out and left all of these friends, changing him ever since. Now, in the present, he has killed many goblins, earning him rank 9. He thinks he will get a new power at the next level, remembering what the Game Master told him about roles. He thinks about what to do next now that he is almost leveled up. Suddenly, Hakozaki dies. He sees this and realizes that because he has been screwing around the quest, is failing, thus the village is in shambles. Upon inspecting his screen again, he learns that Hakozaki must have been eaten by the monster again because she isn't respawning. Looks around the village for something, eventually finding a cut scene. He learns that while he was gone, Hakozaki trained hard to hopefully become stronger. Some kid noticed this, so he asked why she was training so hard to. She explained she has a sick mom she wants to get back and treat. She tells the kid that her whole life she has felt like a burden to others, so she wants to get as strong as she can. Kid realizes he asked too much, not wanting to hear Hakozaki complain about her whole life. Yusuke, on the other hand, thinks about what she said and wonders if he has been doing this wrong. He finally understands that people have noticed him. He was just a loser, didn't let others help him. This allows him to unlock more of the cutscene where he watches as Hakozaki gets slapped around by the orc until she eventually gets eaten, crying for Yusuke's help. After he finishes this, he finds the orc standing before him. He decides to run away like a coward. He knows if he dies, then they will die for good, so he runs, but the orc catches up and slaps him into the air. This makes Yusuke look back on how boring his life was and how little he really cared about others. He wishes for a second chance, promising if he had one he would make a difference. Thankfully, he then lands in water, preserving his life, so he takes it as a chance to run away again. Decides at this moment that he will no longer let people weaker than himself die before him. Before he fulfills this promise, however, he tries to escape to get stronger, but he has no such luck. With the orc jumping around like a frog, he gets no chances to catch his breath or escape. Eventually, he loses sight of the orc, and instead of fighting back, he attacks some random goblin. As luck would have it, this raises his rank to level 10 freezing time and summoning the Game Master in the process. Here, he starts spinning the wheel, giving Yusuke no chances to catch his breath. He reveals for his second class, he will receive the chef class that is able to use a blade. With this role, he is able to see inside of the monster, giving him the opening to attack at. In a single motion, he slices through the stomach of the orc, striking fear throughout its body. Thanks to this attack, the orc loses some of its strength, thus, it spawns Shindu and Hakozaki. They notice his strange outfit, so Yusuke explains that he got a job change to become a chef. He tries to flex this role, but they laugh, causing Yusuke to run into battle and show them who the boss is. By slicing it only a couple times, the orc begins losing more blood, making the girls think they have a chance at victory. Thanks to this hope, they all start attacking together, gradually lowering its health and utilizing the revival method. Eventually, Yusuke gets the idea to enter its body and slice it up, allowing him to deal a more fatal strike. Now with the orc having lost a lot of blood, the girls take it out with ease, completing the quest. Because of this, the Game Master appears again and informs Yusuke that he gets a reward for clearing the quest. He thinks about what to ask for, but eventually decides decides on asking what happens after he finishes the final quest. The Game Master then begins sharing information about a war that occurred, destroying humanity as they know it. In the middle of this all was Yusuke and the others fighting against the opposer until suddenly it stops. He wakes up and is back in the classroom alongside Shindu and Hakozaki. They realize it's the same time as they left, so Shindu decides to leave, assuring Yusuke that the event won't happen anytime soon. This makes him blush, realizing he finally talked to a girl at school. Following this, he walks Hakozaki home to continue his playboy phase. On the walk, Yusuke realizes this is the first time he has walked a girl home, so he starts stumbling his words. Episode 3. The following day at school, he remembers walking her home, feeling like a boss while doing so. Shindu learns of this, so she begins laughing, knowing Yusuke has no chance with Hakozaki. She starts gossiping about this to her friends, asking what they think of Yusuke. Her friend tells her that Yusuke is too nonchalant for them to really know him, so they can't give an answer. Meanwhile, Yusuke finds himself running through the city, thinking that the world will soon end before his eyes. He runs to the location he saw in his vision, but once arriving, everything seems to be normal. This makes him feel anxious, wondering when the time will come for the event to start. As he walks around, however, the Game Master calls him up on his phone, telling him his next mission is to hit on a certain girl. Game Master guides Yusuke to enter a school where he tells him his future will be decided by him. He then informs him to go into the classroom, so he follows suit, proceeding cautiously. Notices it's the girl's restroom, so he proceeds in slowly, stunned to see what's inside. He finds a girl being strung down while being filmed, causing him to wonder how to react. With him never flirting with a girl in the first place, and the other girl having a camera on him, he has no clue how to react. He knows, however, if he doesn't make a move, he will fail the game, so he rushes the main girl, snatches her phone and breaks it in half, making the girls wonder what's going on. He realizes that the other girls may have done the same with their phones, so he takes them all and smashes them. Now, after entering the girls' bathroom and smashing all of their phones for no reason, he wonders what to do next. He rushes towards the final girl's bag to take her phone, eventually destroy it. He thinks his chances at winning over the girl are secured, but little does he know this is all a big misunderstanding. They run out in a frantic, telling Yusuke they plan on calling the police. He knows they have no phone, however, so he forgets about them, approaching the final girl he was supposed to hit on. Despite Yusuke acting like a hero, she thinks he plans on doing something lewd to her. Meanwhile, Yusuke thinks everything is going smoothly. He asks the girl why they were bullying her. She explains that they compete on live streams and she beats her in viewers. Tells Yusuke that she usually acts nicely on camera, but in reality she is a cruel girl who exploits others. Thinking of all this causes her to start crying, causing Yusuke to question himself. He wonders if he messed up, but eventually learns that he did well after the girl invites him to play a game with him. She acts mad awkward to him, revealing she is the typical otaku you don't want to involve yourself with. Now, with 2 weeks passing since their last occurrence, Yusuke teleports back into the game world. Here he finds the nerd girl who is approached by the Game Master. Like the others, she becomes shocked by his sudden appearance, but she quickly understands what's going on. Game Master then spins the wheel to reveal she is a flame wizard. Now with a fourth member, the Game Master announces that they will respawn still, with a longer cooldown. Once he says his words, he leaves the area, causing Yusuke to approach the girl. She thinks he is a stalker, blaming him for summoning her into this world. He explains what Yusuke did to her the previous night, entering the girl's restroom and smashing all of her friends' phones. This makes them realize that Yusuke is a pervert, so they leave him to fend for himself. Upon looking around, Shindu gives Yuka, the nerdy girl, a mission to try and get stronger. Before she embarks out, she further explains the situation to clear the tension around Yusuke. She tells Shindu that the girls filming her were in fact bullying her, Yusuke rushing to help her. Despite this, she wants to make up with her classmates, but is unsure how, so she asks Shindu for guidance. Shindu informs her that she needs to move on and give them up, calling her friends fake friends. Eventually, they move on to finally fight some monsters, this time being a giant bug. I think it will be caused by this bug, but to their surprise, centipede emerges from the ground, forcing them to change their attention. Yusuke gets knocked out with a single hit, and Shindu soon follows, making him wonder if they can ever defeat this monster. Yuka then emerges and uses her magic, hoping to finally utilize her skills of being a nerd her whole life. Knowing all the magical girl attacks, she uses her most powerful magic, but she ends up failing. Like the others, she gets killed with a single attack, leaving Yusuke to wonder how he can fight this thing. He decides to use his chef knife to slice its attack open, but it does absolutely no damage. This enrages him, thinking if he doesn't prove his worth here, he won't ever get a chance with Yuka. Thanks to his efforts, he closes the gap and ends up immobilizing the monster, thus making Yuka look up to him. With it now on the brink of death, they tell Hakozaki to finish it off. Later that night, Yusuke finds Shindu crying herself to sleep, realizing underneath her perfect appearance is a heartbroken girl. This makes him more attracted to her, so he tries to start flirting. This opens up a new path for Yusuke, learning that Shindu is in dire need of help. Episode 4. See years back, Shindu had been in love with an older girl until it happened. The girl committed suicide because of the constant bullying, thus making Shindu depressed. She entered elementary school, she started getting bullied as well, this time from her own teachers. Whether it was special treatment or being treated worse, Shindu was never normal because of her delinquent brothers. Despite this, she honed her skills, becoming the idol everyone desires, never suffer the fate of the girl she loved. She explains that after all this work, when she got thrown into this new world, she lost everything she gained. Not having time for various things and people, he is unsure how to live her life from now on. He sees Yusuke as the only one who can help her, grabbing his hand to seduce him. The following day, the party adventurers to an abandoned village try and find some sort of clue to their mission. As they explore, some geezer notices them and welcomes them to the area. He tells the others that it has been 5 years since the village was deserted, making Yusuke realize time flows differently in this world, with it actually being years in the future from their last embankment. They ask the man for a map. He shows them one which leads to them, learning they are 30 days away from their destination. Shindu recognizes that she has no way to get there, so she begs the man to take her, but he rejects her. He informs her that he can't take her, but soon there will be a martial arts quest that he can earn some money from. Upon hearing this, the party decides to level up a bit first. After exploring the forest, Yusuke finds a group of thugs who recognize the group. They tell the heroes they are done for, rushing Yusuke in the process. As he fights, he starts losing experience from harming humans, the system informing him he isn't supposed to be the hero. After learning this, they flee the scene, but upon getting to safety, they realize Shindu is gone. Yusuke weighs the options, asking them if they should save Shindu or not. He informs them that with how the quest is, anyone can clear it, suggesting they just move forward and leave her alone. Explains that with his life on the line, he has no plans on risking it just for Shindu. Yuka then jumps into the conversation, asking Yusuke why he would promise to help her if he is just going to leave her alone. Tells her that she is already stronger than he is, so there's no point to risking his life if she can't overpower them. Upon hearing this, all Yuka brings Hakozaki to the side to tell her they can't trust Yusuke. He overhears this all, so he suggests they team up together and leave him alone, stomp off angrily, wondering why he has to act like such a scumbag. Now with Yuka and Hakozaki alone, they familiarize themselves with each other. They try and go over their strengths, but realize the both of them are too weak to actually make an effort. They wish that they had Yusuke with them, but decide to adventure forward even without his help. Once they do this, they get captured instantly, causing Yusuke to take pity on the girls. He knows it's up to him now to clear the quest, so he farms goblins until he ranks up. He spins the roll wheel again, and this time gets an actually good class. With him getting the summoner class, he is able to bring in new help, but in the process, it lowered his stats. Now with this new class, he heads to the city where the tournament takes place. While this happens, the captured girls wonder if they will be trapped here their whole lives, it already being a month. Yusuke, on the other hand, is seen lying on the ground, defeated. With him being defeated in only 5 seconds, he wonders how he can win the tournament. As he gets up, the girl who bested him approaches him, apologizing for accidentally killing him. Yusuke then takes advantage of the situation, telling the lady that he needs to travel to a distant land. He asks for her help in getting there, but she is reluctant to help him, having just seen his weakness. He tells him it's hard to take him there without some sort of payment, so Yusuke offers instead to show them the bandits' base. This seems good enough for the government to send out some forces and loan Yusuke a horse to travel on. Accompanying him on this journey is Kavel, a knight from the city. She decides to help him learn to use a sword as they wait for the horses to arrive. With Yusuke being terrible at the sword, she beats him around until he falls to the ground. She asks why he is so weak as a hero, thinking he would at least be able to withstand an attack. This makes Yusuke think of his past, wishing he had worked out more so he wasn't so weak. Kavel then tells him she will help guide his movements to properly wield the sword. Meanwhile, the girls are surrounded by thugs licking their lips, soon take advantage of the group. After some time, he gets his group together, heads out for the bandits' base accompanied by the knights, them getting a few cheeky kills in at first. Eventually, the bandits notice and sound the alarm. This turns it into a full-out battle, forcing the bandits to use their secret weapon. They open up a cage, thus releasing a huge humanoid monster. It is revealed this is a berserker, a monster that strives on eating others' flesh. With him originally being a human, wields knowledge to even use sword skills. This doesn't faze Kavel, however, so she rushes him, taking the lead in battle, though she stands with him at first. Eventually, she gets overpowered, forcing Yusuke to enter the battle. He blocks an attack, but gets pushed back, forcing him to use one of his skills. This gives Kavel the chance to strike back, slicing its head off. After this happens, Yusuke goes to free the girls where they complain about him taking so long. Here, he takes them back to the city, presents the horses showing he solved all their issues. Before we continue, let's take a moment to shout out the winner of the last video's top comment. Let's do something Olivera 8738. Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out in the next video, episode 5. With this, they head to their destined location to hopefully proceed with their mission uninterrupted, because it takes multiple days to get there. Yusuke makes various dishes for the people to enjoy. While they eat, Hakozaki finds it hard to get an appetite, thinking only of the people who died before her eyes. She realizes that because she is so weak, will have to die. This incites her to want to become much stronger than she was before. While this happens, Yusuke continues cooking up meals for everyone, informing us that he gains experience when he cooks. Finally, after some time, Cavell emerges, reminding Yusuke that he said he would defeat her one day. This led to them fighting all day, but he never did end up beating her. Though she seems like a nice, gentle girl, in reality, she is a maniac who loves to cut people up. She tells the others that she is overjoyed to have them in her party, revealing she plans on dissecting each of them. To start, she moves on to Yusuke, telling him to try and avoid any attacks. Fails, of course, and Yuka soon follows, being beaten to a pulp. This leads to her cutting up everyone in the group, Hakozaki noticeably being a weakling. She pities her, but is interrupted when some soldiers inform her a group of goblins is approaching. This lets her off the hook for now, continuing to stay weakling. Yusuke and the others easily defeat the goblins while she continues to struggle. With the goblin's ugly face striking feet into her bones, she wonders if she can defeat it. Once it jumps her, however, she reacts instantaneously, stabbing through the heart of the goblin. This makes her feel as if she killed a person, so she begins crying, thinking it has feelings. Once the day ends, they go over their stats, but realize nobody was able to level up. Although Hakozaki didn't do much, she is steadily improving her fear of killing. To help with this fear, she asks Cavell how she deals with it, but gets a strange response instead. With Cavell being a lunatic, she ignores her advice, leaving her to run off into the forest. This leads to Yusuke talking about a past moment he experienced, watching a samurai fight as a child. With this samurai inspiring him, he suggests that maybe Hakozaki can find someone to look up to. Later that week, as they continue their adventure, they end up getting their wagon's wheel stuck in a hole. Though they have a bunch of strong men, they are unable to pull it out of the hole. Eventually, the nerd girl exits the wagon, allowing the group to easily pull it out of the hole. With this, they get back on with their adventure until another problem arises. They find an army fighting a group of monsters, so they wonder if they should help. Once Hakozaki hears this, she stands up, telling them they have to go as heroes. Don't budge, however, telling her it's a waste of time. This causes her to offer to go herself, showing her resolve is strong. She explains her reasoning for fighting. This inspires the rest of the group to tag along as well. Yusuke then makes a plan for their battle, giving them the confidence they need to charge in. Once he gets close, the monsters divert their attention to Yusuke, making him wonder what to do next. He decides to just rush them without a care in the world, knowing he has infinite lives. Hakozaki follows suit, bringing out her weapon, even though she ain't gonna do anything. As I suspected, she gets taken out instantly, making Yusuke wonder why she even tagged along. While fighting, his fist glows, revealing his power, so he uses it. Doesn't stop there. He knocks the monster down, but another one emerges behind him, ending his life. After this happens, Hakozaki finally respawns, his time determined to make a difference. She scans through all her weapons and pulls out a longsword, allowing her to get a cheeky hit on the monster. Once this happens, the reinforcements arrive, allowing them to finish the battle. Upon completing this, he learns that they are transporting important goods across the nation. This makes him think that the people he saved are the goods causing him to get angry. He wonders if he should kill the people he just saved, holding his hand on his face mysteriously. Episode 6. This makes him realize the quest given to him by the Game Master was one to have him transfer the slaves. He wonders if helping these people is the right decision, or if he should free the slaves. As tension arises, Cavell breaks it, asking the leader of the group if he can really transport slaves through a non-slave country. The man then introduces himself as Corporal Camilto, high-ranking official of the Deok Kingdom. His kingdom being much larger than the one Cavell is from, is sure of his victory in the argument. She doesn't let up, however, forcing him to draw his sword. Right before they engage in battle, Shindu interrupts them, trying to mediate the situation. She is unsure what to do, so Yusuke instead tells them to stop while the heroes talk. He informs the girls that their quest is to assist in transporting the goods to the kingdom. He suggests that they could save them after delivering them to hopefully bamboozle the quest. The only downside to this is a trap is surely awaiting them, making it dangerous. With this knowledge, they decide on another plan, hoping to avoid the trap by saving the goods when they are on the execution podium. As of this, they continue venturing forth, Yusuke wishing he could find some kind of better solution. Eventually, it hits nightfall, so the group stops again, making Cavell angry. She has to follow his orders. Shindu, on the other hand, seems to not trust the leader at all, wanting going to kill him this instant. Later that night, once they are settled, Yusuke calls upon one of the other slaves to see what he knows. He learns that the Daok Kingdom is planning on killing everyone who opposes their religion, thus making this kid up for an execution. Explains that in the Daok Kingdom, people are forced to not only revere God, but also their king. This imbalance, destruction occurs all over from the king's tyrant phases. On top of this, they execute anyone who opposes this religion, making it a kingdom filled with war. This angers Yusuke, so he thinks of what to do. Eventually realizing the root of their problem, Kamito, the leader, he asks him why he had to embark on such a dangerous journey for just capturing non-believers. Kamito explains that they are an example for the others, showing if you protest their religion, only death awaits. This still raises the question as to why he has to be so adamant about this all. Kamito recalls a time when his father came home from war in a sorry state because he opposed the king. Had previously been treated terribly, but once the new king emerged, things were going great. This led to everyone loving him and eventually causing him to establish his own religion around himself. Kamito tells them that in order to achieve his goal of bringing peace, then he must kill all non-believers. This only makes them question his motives further, realizing that he has been raised with a terrible mentality around human life. Yuka then steps up, claiming his beliefs are entirely wrong. This enrages him, so he draws his weapon. The others only continue, saying the same thing. Eventually, he asks Yusuke for his belief, to which he sides with him to hopefully help him calm down. Later that week, as they continue on their adventurers, Shindu receives some training from Cavell. Unlike the others, she can withstand a couple attacks, making it a good match. As they battle, Yusuke is seen talking with the leader. He's informed that they will be arriving at their destination in 12 days, while their quest ends in 13 days. Them cutting it so close, Yusuke asks if they can go any faster. Leads to them taking a more dangerous and challenging route, where they are forced to push the wagon by hand. After some time, they arrive at a tunnel that is said to be an old way of traveling. They follow without saying much, but once they arrive at a huge water contraption, they are forced to recognize the machine. By using a huge water wheel to move a road, they are able to cross the path more easily. Or so they think, but as it catches their attention, the door behind them closes. Kamito tells them he is sorry but has to do this knowing their beliefs. Now with this situation on hand, Yusuli wonders what to do, but is interrupted when Cavell starts taking action. She tells the others their only option is to break through the traps and exit themselves. Little do they know the path ahead is not an easy one, being filled with traps. Suke hesitates to move forward, but eventually he realizes a pattern in their movements, so he looks around. Upon inspecting the area, finds a pillar that he can move, which thus stops the trap from going. It allows the group to advance forward, only to encounter another trap soon after. Suke assumes it will be an easy one. He gets crushed, instantly forcing him to the bottom of a pit. With him being unable to climb out, he assures them to keep going, thinking he will be able to make it out eventually. Even with this, they are unsure how to advance through the trap. Large walls emerging every moment they move. Eventually, Hakazaki gets an idea, so she starts writing some numbers down to calculate the timing of the wall's movements. Upon doing the math, she learns that they have around 40 seconds to go from one side to another if properly timed. Shindu attempts to try out the method first, and to her surprise, it actually works. Now with her on the other side, she tells Yusuke that they are going on ahead, leaving him down in the pit, counter dead ends and various traps, but eventually arrive at a door leading outside. Although they have made it out, they still have a final path to go across, looking more dangerous than all the previous ones. Add to the suspense as they wait to see what happens, some monsters begin to come alive.